Bing. Oh, we're live. Okay, let's do this. All right, everybody, welcome back. I'm Chris Allen at Chris Allen FFWX.
And I'm Adam Wilde at AP Wilde.
And this is episode 31.
Hold on, Chris. I got to do the forward.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Damn it. I keep forgetting that we're not doing this anymore. Let's start again.
Yep.
Start again. All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I'm Chris Allen at Chris Allen FFWX.
And I'm Adam Wilde at AP Wilde. And I'll get us started with the forward. First, we've got shirts from the company that our guest runs, FF_Outfitters. Check them out. I've got mine. Very comfy. Next, we've got the Devy Owner's Manual. Don't forget to check that out, especially this time of year. That's run by Dwight Peebles and Andrew Harbaugh. They're doing a great job. And then get pumped for Best Ball Owner's Manual with Brad Reyes. He's going to do a great job, and that'll be starting soon.
And I'm totally looking forward to all of those things. And best ball season is in full effect, everybody. And actually, I just had my first article from Fantrax drop earlier today, looking at the 2018 data, some of the trends I was able to find. So if you get a chance, go ahead and check that out over at fantrax.com. And then I'm also joining a couple of best ball leagues, even here in February, just to see kind of what the ADP is looking like, where people are taking Patrick Mahomes, which is like I saw in my best ball league today, somebody took him at the 1.04, not even kidding. So it is kind of wild with the ADP right now. So definitely get the information that you need. So check out Fantrax and try and get some of that information before you hop into some of the lobbies. But we're here tonight with one of our, I think, our silent, most appreciative guests here tonight. Because just a quick backstory for everybody that doesn't know, when I first started writing, actually before I even started writing, I saw a guy tweeting on my timeline. It got retweeted. I forget who retweeted on my timeline, but he was asking for writers. And if you're interested in writing about fantasy football, to shoot him a little questionnaire, about what you would want to write about, what's your passion and all that. And so I filled it out. I started talking to this guy for a little bit, and then I joined the writing staff over at Fantasy Football Couch Coach. And actually for, I would say, a solid 4 or 5 months writing over at ffcouchcoach.com, everybody called our guest tonight Coach. That's what everybody called him. They didn't know. I had no idea what his first name was. Everyone just called him Coach. Coach, you're up. You're on the clock. We would be drafting. We started a Best Ball Dynasty League with some of the other writers there on staff at the time. And there was like, Coach, you're on the clock. Coach this, coach that, or whatever. And I'm sitting there talking to myself like, what the heck is this guy's name? Like, there's no way this guy can be, his actual name is Coach. So I got to know what his name is. So after a few months, I finally got up the nerve to ask him. I was like, what the heck what is your name, man? And of course, his name, as you guys all mostly know him, it is Justin Barlow. It is the Fantasy Football Couch Coach here with us tonight. It's been a long time coming, my friend. First and foremost, I want to say thank you for giving me the platform in order to get my name out there and start writing. And of course, we welcome you here tonight to start talking about, I guess, off-season themes and what people do during the off-season. And I know we were talking a little bit and riffing on that before we started recording. But before we even get into any of the Dynasty stuff, can you tell us, can you give us a quick backstory of FFCC, man? Because I'm already missing it, even though, it's only been a few months since it went down, but I'm missing it, man. How did all that get started?
Well, man, thanks for all that. I really appreciate that. That was a very welcoming intro. Yeah, as you kind of pointed out, I've been a little on the silent side. I've been the guy that wanted to give other people a voice, because there was a time where I was on Twitter, just in the background, just listening to podcasts and kind of hovering around, seeing what I can get in front of my friends, like things like that. In my home league, just that's all it was for. Didn't have any kind of presence, didn't know anybody, anything like that. But the more I hovered, the more I saw like these guys had a click, like these guys, I mean like the bigger podcasts. back then it was like Rummy and I can't remember the name of the podcast, but it was good. You had Evan Silva and Lord Reeves, like they were you could tell like they were on the cusp of something, and like they were doing it, and like you just heard it every week. I'm like, man, they're just pumping out that content. So I'm thinking to myself, oh, the more I kind of hovered on Twitter back in the day, I started to comment on little things here and there. And I had somebody approach me. And when I say approach, they sent me a DM. I can't remember the website. They asked me if I wanted to be a writer. And I kind of thought about it for a second. I'm like, damn, dude. Like, first of all, I was honored. I was surprised, didn't expect it, that type of thing. But then I thought about it, and I'm like, well, why would I give my stuff to someone else if I could just write it myself? Because I'm a graphic designer. That's like a little bit of my background. I can build websites, do logos, things like that. So that's what I did. In October of 2014, I built ffcouchcoach.com. First, it started out with the Twitter, like I said. But I was just kind of thinking to myself, I'm like, man, like, I knew all these kind of guys had all these niches. Like there was a lot of analytics popping up at the time. And now, like, it's now coming kind of to the forefront where analytics are they're having a leg to stand on and people are listening up. Well, I don't know these things. That's not how my brain works. I'm more of the creative side of it. That's why I can build a website. I can make it look pretty. So that's kind of where I thought about, okay, well, somebody asked me to be on their team and write for them and submit content, things like that. I'm thinking to myself, well, I can't write as fast as like I want to get things out there. So why don't I just offer my website as a platform? And I'll say to you now, man, I never made any money on FF Couch Coach. That wasn't what it was about. I wanted to have my place in those clicks that I saw when I was hovering. I just thought it was so cool. Now it's known as the fantasy football community on Twitter. And it's a big deal. You got the big guys like Scott Fish doing big things like for charity, and it's just so cool. There's just so much of that going around, and I'm happy to know that I made a small impact, and I helped guys like you, good guys like you, find their voice, and I appreciate it, man. I really do. I've always just wanted to give guys a little bit of a platform and, say what you got to say, because all that weather research that you do, I like I said, I don't think like that. I don't see things that way. There's no way that I could ever produce that content. So I help out, I do what I can to help guys like you. And by the way, I do remember who retweeted it. It's the only time he's ever retweeted me, but it was Matt Harmon. It was Matt Harmon. Yeah,
of course.
Looking for writers,
Yeah.
something like that. And he retweeted it, and you responded, and you still owe me a 6-pack.
I do. Actually, that is, you've been on my list for quite some time, and I've actually got some brew ready to send to you, my man. So I'll
awesome.
have to get I'll have to get your address after we get out of here.
Cool.
So now that so FFCC, unfortunately, rest in peace, it's now gone away. But now I know you're doing work over with the Dynasty Trade Calculator. So can you tell us a bit about what's going on over there, and what can people look for when they go to DTC?
Yeah, man. I love those guys. When I say those guys, I'm talking about John Paul Hurley, Izzy, and John Moser. They're the three collective partners of DynastyTradeCalculator.com. That website, for me, is one of the pinnacle tools when it comes to trading in Dynasty. It isn't the end-all be-all, and I will say that. They will say that. That's not what it's about. It's about having the best tools in your toolbox. You know what I mean? You can hang a picture by pulling out the level and blah, 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 but you can also get a laser level, and it's a lot quicker. It's a more efficient tool. That's what the Dynasty Trade Calculator does for you. Like I kind of touched on when I was editing and publishing and promoting articles for FF Couch Coach, I was promoting things that were done by people that were beyond my understanding. So that is what is going on with DTC. Through all these little sciencey algorithms that I can't begin to understand, they created these formulas that determine values for players, right? And now it enables them to give them an evaluation. So that valuation applies to our trading, and it's highly customizable, whether you're in a PPR, half PPR, not PPR, 12 team, 10 team. There's like so many different customizations for it, tight end premium, things like that. And it tells you who's better in a trade, whether it's Saquon or OBJ. It gives you a value for that distinct player. So I'm helping out over there with the with the weekly ranking updates, the ADP, and of course the line of DTC T-shirts that have been coming out lately. Like I mentioned, I'm a graphic designer, so that's kind of we're seeing that there's a demand for shirts, so we're making it happen. And people, you can get your Dynasty Owners Manual shirts out there as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, we could not go through this podcast without shouting out the FF Outfitters and able to actually get our shirts seen up there on Amazon and whatnot. So I'm definitely digging that. So Dynasty Trade Calculator, go check it out. FF Outfitters through Amazon, definitely go check that out. You can get your Dynasty Owners Manual T-shirt whenever you pop on Amazon, and go ahead and put your order in today. But now, getting into the actual meat of the conversation tonight, we wanted to talk about it's the off season, right? And we've got a ton of rookie content coming out already. We've had rookie content coming out since, I think, the middle of January, for goodness sakes. Mm-hmm. We've got the Combine coming up here within the next week and a half. The draft is a couple months away. So it's the off season, at least for right now. And what do you do during the off season, I guess, in order to prepare for your startup, if you're doing any startups this year, or preparing for your rookie drafts? I guess, what is your general approach to looking at either existing teams or, again, your startups? Are you looking at your veterans to see if you're going to be cutting them? Are you trying to acquire picks or trade away players? Or what is your general approach when it comes to the offseason?
Okay, so before I talk about the off season, let's touch a little bit on the on season. It's a busy time, man. It's week in, week out. If you're doing, just to manage your own teams, and when I say teams, it's probably a good average to assume that we all have at least, say, 5 teams. So setting lineups, checking waivers, doing your DFS teams. Like, there's just so much going on week to week. And then if you're doing any kind of content, whether it's a podcast or a website or promotions, things like that, there's so much going on every week. Then there's news and there's Twitter every day, all day. It's a long season. It's an exhausting season. And then you get into the playoffs and then the Super Bowl. Finally, it's over. A little bit. You think that in your head. You're like, finally. I get to breathe a little bit. So that's what I do, man. I just, for not a long time. I'm not like I don't not know what's going on. I'll cruise on Roto World and check it out. And there's certain podcasts that I still like to listen to, but for at least a few weeks, like 2-3 weeks, I like to just kind of unplug, where I'm not like immersed in my teams, because Dynasty, that doesn't stop. So yeah, they'll be there waiting for me. And this is the thing, my leagues, they have a natural way of pulling me back in. They have a way of getting me to participate when the time comes. And when that time comes, we're all fiends, right? So the guys and gals in my leagues, they're fiends. They're bigger fiends than I am. They're the ones that are making me be competitive, because now I'm like, oh crap, I got to keep up with this guy. Well, if they're pulling me in. So that is happening in February. It's already starting to happen. You know what I mean? So we're already ahead of the game. This isn't where, I'm slacking off. It's just that we're such freaks. We're so ahead. So I'll have plenty of time to catch up on the rookies, as it comes at me. And that's probably going to only be like within the next couple weeks or so. Within, the next couple weeks or so, I'll have a good grasp on who I like. And it's because I'm going to be listening to all the smarter people than me out there, basically.
Absolutely. And then, so for any of the teams, once you do get pulled in, I mean, do you immediately just start by, all right, well, I'm just going to start cutting some of these other players, or do you start trade? Are you just waiting for the rookie draft?
Yeah. I mean, when I say unplug, like sometimes I'll check it. Like I'll check out my roster. I want to see if, it's very rare when the season's off. Like, of course, waivers are going to be turned off, but I like to see what free agents are on the waiver wires, as far as getting ready for my rookie draft, because rookies are fine. And I'm going to, like, I prefer established veterans. So if I have a plethora of third and fourth round rookie draft picks in 2019, say, instead of taking a flyer on some guy who might not even make his NFL team that he gets drafted by, I'm gonna look for those guys that are going to be on the waiver wire that might have slipped through the cracks, or just one of those guys, somebody that maybe you could trade for because somebody else has their eye on that one little rookie that they think is gonna pop. Chances are it's not going to happen. Like statistically, again, the guys that are smarter than me have done the research, and it shows that the rookies, they're diamonds in a rough. Like of course you can do your research, and there's so many college guys that do know their stuff. But as far as finding productivity for a team that's going to win you a championship that year, like that following season, I'd rather get a veteran that I could get 2-3 years out of, because then you never know what's going to happen in the future.
And those end of roster guys that Chris was talking about are the hardest ones I find. I find such a difficult time to let go of those guys, because the end of the roster guys are the ones like you pour your heart and soul into. I feel like we put as much work into those guys as we do our primary assets.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to let go sometimes. That's why I'm a big fan of 30-man rosters.
Yep.
Because some of my friends, like I'm trying to get my hometown friends kind of turned around more to the fruits of Dynasty options that are on myfantasyleague.com.
Yeah.
They just don't know what they're missing with certain things. Now, 30-man rosters, like the argument against that is, I want to make sure that there's some players that could be taken up off the waivers during the season, because then it's just a dry wasteland. And I'm like, well, yeah, but that's kind of the point. We're in Dynasty here. Like there shouldn't be good players on the waivers. Now, the only players that you should snatch up during the Dynasty season is somebody who's like third in the depth chart, and he just so happens to get the starting job.
Mm-hmm.
I just yeah.
If I'm in a league where I have to cut Kendrick Bourne, I'm swinging on somebody. But so we're going to talk about rookie picks a little, because that's the kind of season we're in, and kind of want to hear your philosophy on rookie picks. I'm in between the hoarding phase and the acquiring players phase, because I technically do both. Right about now, I'm taking as many rookie picks as possible, because it seems to happen a lot. It didn't happen in the last couple years because just the classes were so overpowered, but we get these years where it's like, oh, these rookies aren't very good. This isn't a good year. We've got a down year. And then, like you said, all the fiends come out. It gets close to draft time, and everybody all of a sudden wants to draft again. So where I'm not a huge advocate for picking rookies, I do want rookie picks. How do you handle rookie picks right about now?
I love having rookie picks because I learned okay. Let me start over with that. I learned to train myself to look at rookie picks and players even as money pieces instead of thinking of, because the thing is with players you get attached to them like a lot. You said it yourself. What was it, Kendrick Bourne? Um, we find ourselves getting emotionally attached to these players because we've spent so much time, whether it's writing an article about them or just hanging on to them for a long time. So you're committed to that player, and instead of doing that anymore, and it's helped me, especially my redraft, because in redraft now I can look at that player just as a money piece. Okay, it's not even worth it. I'm cutting them. So you can pick somebody else potential off the waiver that has more likelihood because you were looking at airyards.com and you're seeing the opportunity, the things like that, where you're making smarter decisions. So with rookie picks, I love having them because I like to get them as throw-ins. So if I'm doing a trade, wide receiver for wide receiver, I always like to get a third or a fourth in return, because I'm not really looking to make a pick in the fourth round of that rookie class at all. Like that fourth round picks, like they're usually trash. They're usually throwaways. Like I said, sometimes they don't even make their NFL team. But the thing is if you start looking at that as a money piece, now you're talking, because if it's a fourth round pick, well, if we equate it to a quarter, you got 4 quarters. Now you got $1, So if you add to two quarters, maybe you can get a 50-cent piece. You know what I mean? So like if you trade, so now that you've hoarded your picks is what I'm trying to say. If you trade 2/4, now maybe you can kick it up and get a third, just because you don't need those 2 roster spots, but somebody else has their eye on 2 guys that might slip down to the 4th. Well, now you might have them, and I'm talking about trading while the draft is going on. You can do that if you hoard your picks. Worst comes to worst, you're cutting your 4th round picks. Who cares?
And another thing that's important about hoarding those 3rd or 4th and always getting them added when you can is that other people want them added when they can as well. So the way I've always thought about those late 3rds and 4ths, they're getting trades done. There are a lot of people that'll walk away from trades for a 3rd, and I know that sounds ridiculous, but they just need that added piece. And if you don't have it to give to them, you don't get the trade done. So you can even think about those 3rds as executed trades as well, if you would like to think about them that way.
Sure. And it's also cool that you can recognize that, Adam, because then you can use it as a weapon as well in trading. Because then if you're willing to kind of, let your ego aside and just want to get the deal done because you're the one that's getting the piece that you want. Like if the end game is to get good players and you got a good player and that person was going to walk away, then, maybe sometimes just let it happen, because you're like, whatever, dude, like what's he going to do with that 3rd or that 4th? Yep. But you recognize that it's just a pawn in your game of chess. Like that's what you're trying to do with that piece. You're not really, you don't actually care about the 3rd. Like you're not even thinking about the rookie draft at all. Like, and you'll along the way, you're going to have other trades and you can get another 3rd or another 4th. So again, sometimes you just got to think of it as a commodity.
Yeah, so I just finished my first draft. Well, I guess it's in the 23rd round, so it's close to done. But my first draft that I went 100% best player available, happened to get no QB in a super flex. So I've got a lot of trading to do, but I've gotten a lot of value. And you're hitting a very important topic, especially for this time of the year, because so many people want to go on Twitter and say that they're in running back trouble or wide receiver trouble. You're not in trouble whatsoever. You don't have to set a lineup for months. So this is the best time of year to stop looking at names and look at dollar figures, as you alluded to. I mean, I drafted Tyreek Hill at 203, and it was a pretty good deal there, but I knew he wasn't going to make it to my starting lineup next year. When I took him there, I was essentially taking the 3 pieces that I ended up getting for him and not Tyreek Hill. So excellent point there. And I also got the 101, the 106, the 108, 112, and 201 in that draft, just because picks were being devalued. But I bet you I don't even make a rookie pick. So even more to your point there.
Yeah, and I'm not always talking about just thirds or fourths. Like, this pertains to firsts and seconds too. I mean, I'm always going to try to shop them. Now, I mean, of course, context matters when we're talking about trading those two. For instance, I had the 101 when Saquon Barkley was coming in. You couldn't pry it away from me. I knew that Saquon was coming. So there, of course, context matters. But I also maneuvered to acquire that 101. 2 years prior, I had Jordan Howard. I traded him for somebody else's first round pick. That first round pick, I drafted Leonard Fournette. After Leonard Fournette had a successful season, I'm like, you know what, dude, I don't trust this guy's ankles, whatever's going on. Let me trade him. I traded to the guy who I thought was going to get the worst record in the league. And turns out he did. So that's what I had to do. It was 2 years in the making for me to get that 101, for me to get Saquon. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So yeah, sometimes you got to just hang on. But at the same time, second round picks, third round, you could trade up. You can trade a second round pick and say a Doug Baldwin and maybe get a lower end first round pick if that's what you want. If that's the rookie that you got your eye on or whatever, and you need to flip your team a little bit, you could start trading little other pieces rather. But on the contrary, if you need to acquire a Doug Baldwin, you can do that too. And that's what I love about these drafts, because like you said, these guys get rookie fever, and when they do, sometimes oh my God, I can't believe he fell to 210. This guy fell to 210. I gotta have him. And then you got him. You can get his useful veteran that's already on his roster that is starting next year, who's receiving passes from whoever. You know what I mean? Like, their situation, their production. They show it year in, year out, and you think everything's going to be fine. So boom, that guy that I just described, he is going to be the target that you're just going to look for. There's middling guys, not you can knock it out of the park sometimes and get a major player, but I'm talking about those little guys where you're like, I got him, like a Traquan Smith or something. You know what I mean? Where you're just like, yeah, okay, I got him on this one. Where they're going to wait. Whether it could be a promising player that they're getting in the rookie draft, but they might have to wait on that player too, an extra year or 2 or 3, depending on who it is, because that's a fresh rookie. Whereas my guy, the guy that I'm already have my eye on, that's on your roster, he could have been in the league for 2-3 years already.
Now, when you're talking about that, and I wanted to quickly ask, so both of you guys, Adam and Justin, it seems like there's a lot of moving pieces when it comes to the offseason, when it comes to looking at either your rookies, your veterans, if you want to trade your picks or you want to try and acquire a player and acquire a pick or whatever. Mm-hmm. But Justin, what is your typical approach to making trades? Are you sending cold offers? Are you trying to like put out some bait like here and there in order to say, all right, well, I know that you're really looking to acquire this rookie or that rookie or whomever. I mean, what is your typical approach to making trades?
Okay. I've metamorphosized as far as trades goes. I used to be a trading fiend. Like, it used to be the bane of my existence. My home league, they laugh. They're, oh my God, I can't believe Barlow didn't send me a trade offer already. Like, they just like they've been amazed about how far I've come as far as not sending out so many offers. Because this is the thing. Now that I have multiple leagues, I don't really need that fix, I guess, during the week. But back in the day when I only had one league, that's how I would pass the week, where there's like no extra news, and I wasn't on Twitter yet and things like that. So I'm like looking at how all these different combinations and how can I get this, and who can I trade two for one, and there's like so many different ways that you can look at it. But with Dynasty anymore, I'm much more content because I like first of all, I like the teams that I draft. I like when I'm able to make decent maneuvers on the waivers, and throughout the season. One of my favorite times of the year is to trade or to make offers, or like to kind of, what I call it is like roster stalking, is like that cusp right before the fantasy playoffs, like right before the fantasy playoffs, because you know that certain teams that are like that maybe limped into the playoffs, or even a team that dominated. You look at his roster and you're like, ooh, like he doesn't have Adam Thielen coming into his first playoff week or whatever. Like whatever his weakness is, you can prey on that, and then you can say, okay, well, I'll send you this, and then you can seriously, like, not, don't send insulting offers, but you can also send something that's slightly lopsided in your direction, because situation matters, context matters. Like, it doesn't, you're not just sending it to be fair. This isn't buddy buddy. I'm your competition. I do want to win the trade. I don't want to take advantage of people all the time, but if I can, sure, I'm not going to, feel bad about it. That is one aspect where the DTC calculator, like, it comes in huge, because you can put players and the picks on one side, and on the other side you could put just picks or whatever combination you want to do. And then you can see how everything evaluates on each side, and see what you think would be fair to send as an offer. So sometimes I'll do that as an exercise, just to kind of get my stuff straight in my head. So I'm like, okay, would this make sense? What would they say? And then I plug that in, and I'm like, okay, yeah. So if maybe I can get the deal done right away if I just add a third to this, and boom, they won't even be able to say no. You know what I mean? Like things like that. It gets you in it almost gives you like an advantage before the trade offers even start.
And a few things that you brought up there. First, back to trading and kind of knowing your enemy is kind of what I gathered from that. But from the rookie draft perspective, this is when the Leo Pasiga episode with the notebook comes in. And if you haven't heard that one, that's a must listen. But Leo keeps a notebook on all his opponents. But
yeah, Leo's awesome.
Yes, definitely. Specifically right before the rookie draft. So everybody's grinding the tape or looking into the market shares or the dominator scores. They're going to have players that they love. I would just recommend keeping a little note of people in your league, who they've been touting on Twitter, who they've expressed loving. Keep your rookie picks. I'm hoarding all those picks, and like I said, I probably won't make a rookie pick. I'm going to move them, but I'm probably going to move them on draft day. So if I've got the 108 and I know that this person loves A.J. Brown and that A.J. Brown happened to fall to the 108, as soon as I'm on the clock, I'm going to that person. I'm like, okay, your dude, fell to the 108. What do you want to send for him? And that's another way, like you were saying, you might get a lopsided trade done, not because you're trying to take advantage of the person, but because that's their guy. And I might not believe in A.J. Brown quite as much as they do.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you ever have the privilege of doing a live home draft, or like a draft in person with other people, that is another way that you can play on it. Because if somebody's like kind of sweating it out, and who's there, who's available, you can kind of like look at the person, or just like straight up, it's very powerful to be able to communicate face to face instead of through some text message or whatever. Turning to somebody face to face and be like, what do you think? You know what I mean? And just kind of negotiating.
Yeah.
All right, well, why don't we do this? Take care of this. Trade me. And, maybe you want to start. I don't know the players coming into it, but from my understanding, the 2020 class is supposed to be pretty good. So you could even start trading your trading back from 2019 picks to 2020 to just kind of stockpile those.
Yeah, like you mentioned that I told Brian Malone about my trade today, because I'm talking to him a lot, because we did the cohort report 2 weeks ago, and that was basically Brian Malone's database that's showing you which players are relatable based on their career arcs thus far. What I've been able to do with the cohort report is do what I call a tier down. So let's say I have Odell Beckham and I have Tyreek Hill, which I did have. You can target AJ Green plus and Julio Jones plus. Now you have Julio and AJ is still a great wide receiver combination, but a little bit older. And then you got those pluses, which going back to your statement could have been those added first, or especially those 2021st. Like imagine if I did OBJ for Julio in a 2021st, and then I did Tyreek for AJ in a 2021st or whatever. Still going to get that great production next year, but I'm going to get those 2021st in addition to that. So the tear down is another part of the arsenal that you kind of brought to my attention.
Exactly. So you're backfilling your team with the picks, the future picks, and you're still getting almost equal, if not equal, production from the older player. I'm okay with older players because I like winning. You know what I mean? I just the points are more important to me. So I'll worry about getting younger talent throughout the season or just at a later time. It doesn't like I don't go into it with no picks. Just because I trade them doesn't mean I don't get them back later on.
Right. And I think that's the best way to go. And actually building off of that, so when we're talking about some of the older players, I mean, what are you doing with some of the older players of big name assets from 2018? So, I mean, Damian Williams has pretty much been a hot topic during the offseason. But players like him, AB, with him being in the news right now, Tevin Coleman, who's set to hit free agency, or even like players like Aaron Rodgers. I mean, quarterback that's still, I mean, if we're talking about current production or even 2019 production, we would project him to be, one of the top 5 QBs somewhere in there. But we know that he's also getting pretty old. So what would you do with any one of those players, or just pick a couple and go with and riff off that?
Well, like a Damian, I know, like you seriously probably hear everybody saying this anymore, but a personal friend of mine could back me up on this. I've liked Damian Williams since he was in Miami, stubbornly, like to the point where I like, why, dude, he would actually message me. I'm talking about my friend. Dude, why haven't you dropped Damian Williams? Like because it was, for me, it was opportunity, and he was only behind Lamar Miller at the time, who just wasn't popping. So anyway, I would buy him. I just wouldn't overpay, because my problem is I don't know if he's going to sustain a dominant role there. Like, we don't know if they're going to draft another running back in this rookie class. So we'll have to wait and see. That being said, I do like him as a player, so I would buy him most certainly. I like his metrics. He's a good player. Like I mentioned, I've liked him for a while, so I would buy him. I don't know if I'd pay. I'd probably pay a late first, and that's about as high as I go. Only because I'm stubborn, and like I said, I wouldn't overpay just because the value isn't there. Rodgers, I'm selling him on his name. I don't think that you're going to get. I mean, it's hard to say whether or not he's going to get solid, consistent week in, week out fantasy point production. So I'm going to cash in on his name recognition, whether it be two QB leagues or one QB. It doesn't matter to me. I'm going to see if I can get something really good for Rodgers, whether I package him with somebody else and get a deal done or whatever. But I'm gonna try and move on. Just because for me, QBs are deep, and you can capitalize. You can get equal value out of another quarterback who is much cheaper. So, yeah, I would. That would be a scenario where I might even be looking to get a pick or picks for Rodgers, and you could definitely get that done in a 2 QB especially, or super flex. As far as, say, a Tevin Coleman, I've always liked him since he was a rookie. I've been waiting for him to pop. I know he was disappointing last year when Freeman's been out, and he's only had to compete with a rookie, Nito Smith. But I still would. Oh, I'm definitely holding if I already own him. I'm not selling because at this point it's like no, he's mine. I'm going to wait and see because I deserve this. Whether or not he turns out to be successful, I deserve this. The thing with Antonio Brown, man, What the hell happened? He's amazing. Yeah, he's an amazing athlete. I'm definitely going to be watching this entire situation to see how everything unfolds. But I don't have any doubt in my mind as to whether or not he's going to dominate on a football field next season. Like
Right.
and that's kind of the crap that I was talking about before, where if you're kind of stepping back a little bit and you want to unplug for a few weeks, we're only hearing about all this crazy wild stuff because one, he finally gets to have some time off. Jesus, the Steelers have gone deep into the playoffs for how many years? You know what I mean? So now it's like, all right, I get to kick back a little bit. Let me go. You know, I don't know what he's doing, but like I'd have fun too. Jesus, I'm 35. I would want to have fun. You know, things are busy, man. Life's hectic. What's wrong with the guy having a little bit of fun? And if he's going to mouth off a little bit, then stop putting a microphone in his face if he bothers you so much. You know, I love Antonio Brown. I'm sorry.
Preach, man. Keep it going.
I love Antonio Brown. I fancy a wide receiver in the league that has a little bit of a personality and isn't afraid to show it. I like a person that doesn't allow themselves to be kicked around, whether it be by the media or their employer or whatever. It's like, I don't give a shit who you are, whether or not you have power or whatever. You know, we're all humans. Like, you know what I mean? It's just, I don't know, man. I'm excited to see where he ends up because to me, nobody knows what it's like to be in the Steelers organization. We don't know, like, for, you know, all the prestige that surrounds it and all this other stuff. And I'm not speaking badly about the organization. Like I said, we don't know. That means I don't know. I have no idea. For all I know, Antonio Brown is crazy. I don't know. But all I'm saying is that we have to be open to the possibility that things in this society are not looked at as from a psychological standpoint. Anytime anybody acts up, they're automatically labeled, oh man, he's just a crazy, or he's a jerk off, or this guy's a dickhead, or he's a millionaire. Just shut up and do the work. Nah, man, you shut up. Who the fuck are you? You know, I just, maybe people need to be listening to, like, there's a symptom there. You know, he didn't just decide to roll out of bed and be nuts one day.
Right.
Maybe Roethlisberger is an asshole, really hard to deal with, or whatever. You don't know what he's dealing with. He's like, all right, I'm a man here then. Let me go. I'll go. You have your juju, and, you know, I love you guys, whatever. You're all my brothers, but I got to step off, and I got to go do my own thing. What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
You know? Let him be happy. So what?
And
you know,
from a dynasty perspective, I talked about on the open bar 2 nights ago. We don't even have the credentials to discuss his mental state, anyways. Even if it were a talking point, however, it would not be a talking point if he were scoring points right now. Yep. But if you want some practical application out of this conversation, I took him at 310 in a Superflex startup because of the timing of
You're kidding me.
Absolutely. And it's amazing. Because of the timing. So if you just want to listen in from the side and not put your perspective into it, because we don't have any credentials to talk on it anyways. But like you said, you could step away from it, not hear any of this, and then just have probably the wide receiver 1 next year on your team. And it's like, oh, I'm happy to have Antonio
in your
Brown.
third slot.
In your third slot, exactly. Actually,
when he's hooking up with Jimmy G over in San Francisco, because now he's in sunny San Fran.
Yeah,
you know, he's not freezing. Come on, I mean, like, there's a lot of things that could go play in the play here, and we all know. You know, Matt Kelly's been talking about it for a long time. This is one of the guys that, like, we expect to be in the league for a long time. What's he, 31? Yeah. You know, 30. He could 30. Okay, yeah. That's even better. He could very well last until he's 35. He's not huge. He's not gangly. He doesn't have, like, different constraints on his joints that other players.
And does not win with physical attributes. I like that. That's not how he wins.
Sheer talent. He's a technician. The guy is a surgeon at football. He's a surgeon at football. So wherever he goes, and he's going to choose. Don't get it twisted. Like, maybe he does go to the NFC. All right, cool. But what if he goes to, like, Green Bay? Well, I ain't trading Rodgers then. No, you know what I mean? So we can always see. But that's the thing, man. We can always see. So what goes on is people are just bored right now. That's it. They're just bored.
keep
So they're
all
gonna.
this in mind. I mean, we can follow this from afar and not worry about it, but take advantage of it. Another one that I'm afraid to even talk about because I want to try to acquire him. You discussed it earlier. Leonard Fournette is so cheap, and I fully understand the whole injury thing, and I probably wouldn't keep him on my team very long. But if I had to put $1 million that his ADP is not that his ADP is going to be higher, it half midway through the season, I would bet $1 million on that. There's no way his ADP isn't going to get higher, and it's because of drama, just like with the AB situation. He was already priced for his ankle injuries. Like that wasn't news. We knew he had the ankle injuries, and go figure, he had them this year. However, that was already baked into his incredibly high price. What wasn't baked in was him sitting on the sideline and laughing with TJ Yeldon. Now, isn't it amazing how ADP reflects one dramatic situation? Same thing with Antonio Brown. I was able to start a startup with OBJ, Tyreek, and Antonio Brown. That should not be fair.
That's
Same thing
beautiful.
with Leonard Fournette. He's going to get 1 million touches. No idea who's going to play quarterback. I'm not going to want to keep him long enough to injure his ankles again. But if you're into stocks and you're about flipping for profit soon, Leonard Fournette is definitely the type of player that you should look for, surrounded by that drama. Just forget about the drama. Like you said, you can tune it out, come back in 2 months, and it's like, I could probably sell Leonard Fournette now that his ADP is back to
Well, yeah,
20.
and you know what helps you get past the drama, the noise, the coach speak, whatever you want to call it. You know what helps you focus on really what's important here, and that's like you said, getting a profit and winning in the long run, winning trades and getting improving your roster. The thing that helps you get better at focusing is when you look at it like money. When you stop and you're like, okay, all right, it's forget the angle. He's not going to get kicked off the team. Sure, he could keep having issues, but if the price is right, now that's the big thing. You can't buy for too much. Then that's where it's kind of iffy. Like, what do you gotta? There are things that matter on this thing. The Jaguars terrify me. I don't know what's going on with that team, with that franchise, but this is like you touched on. The passing game is atrocious, and they're going to run the ball. I mean, Tom Coughlin, he's not going to have it any other way. So the volume should be there, but we also have to weigh in with the health also. So he could be a buy, but just kind of approach delicately because at this point, people who own him probably will want to have him because of stubbornness. They've had him this long, and they want to get something out of him because he's been hurt a lot. Yeldon's had a chance to shine. Who by the way, I like him. I would like to buy him. He's a free agent, and I would like to own more of TJ Yeldon.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are trying to pick him up this season because I'm thinking that after the way that he played, people are looking at him, then they're looking at Tevin Coleman, and they're kind of thinking, well, if I could get TJ Yeldon for cheaper, and get and look at get similar production and looking at like similar talents, then yeah, I'll go ahead and get the cheaper guy in TJ Yeldon. So we'll see how that works out. But I mean, Justin, thank you so much for coming and sitting down and talking with us tonight, man.
Of course, guys.
Again, this has been so long, in trying to put this together. So again, thank you for your time. But before we get you out of here, is there anything else going on at DTC that we want to know? FF Outfitters that we want to know? Any other organization that you're supporting right now that we should be aware of, and let the folks know before we get you out of here, man.
Well, one, I really appreciate it, guys. It was fun. We definitely have to do it again sometime. And at Dynasty Trade Calculator, we're going to be having more of a regular newsletter coming out. That's going to feature the updated podcast, the articles, the T-shirts, of course, that we have. A lot of ideas coming out. So we have a Saquon social media poll T-shirt. There's a so some TV show themed. There's some really good ideas up there, and some fun some fun ideas that support the show and the website. So check those out. And the biggest thing that you take away from the conversation here is check out the calculator. It's not even. I'm not being a salesman here. This is not. You're missing out if you don't have it. Basically, because I have it, and if you're trading with me, you know that I'm using it, and you don't want to know. Like it's an advantage. It's basically like you're selling your car without looking at the Kelley Blue Book. Sure, you're not going to get exactly that. You might not. The Blue Book could be like, a little off, but man, you want to. It gives you a little bit of a price point to work with. So keep that in mind. And it's extremely cheap for the tool that you're getting. And the money that you put into fantasy football and the time that you put into it, you're getting your money back tenfold. It's like ridiculous to not have the Dynasty Trade Calculator. As far as FF Outfitters, that was just a fun little project that I fell into, and I've had a lot of fun with it so far. I'm signing on with I'm partnering up with a lot of cool websites, fantasy football websites, very reputable websites and podcasts. And if anybody out there is looking to get T-shirts made available to their audience, hit me up on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @FFCouchCoach. We can talk.
100%, man. And I couldn't thank you enough for getting us hooked up. And so we hope that more folks will go out and get some owner's manual T-shirts out there to the general public. So definitely go and check those out when you get a chance. But again, Justin, thank you for sitting down with us tonight. Adam, do we have anything for the folks before we get on out of here tonight?
Yeah, so keep plugging those pods. We've got the Devy Owner's Manual. It's the time of year to check that out. So definitely start catching up. And then Best Ball Owner's Manual, we can't wait to get that started. Go get your T-shirts like we just talked about at @FF_Outfitters. Other than that, we're going to be on new platforms soon. That's something we're working on. And then we've got some other little cool things going on behind the scenes. If you guys are enjoying the shows, please go rate and review. That helps us out a ton, especially sponsorships coming up in the season. Appreciate your listening. Hope you enjoyed.
Absolutely. And for Adam, I'm Chris Allen. Again, you can find Adam at APWilde, WILDE, and you can find me at Chris Allen, FFWX on Twitter. We thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll catch you all next week.